Hi there. So this is a bit of an off-the-cuff thing that I just kind of wanted to throw at you there, solidify myself here in the new year for my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren to watch. And, before I even get into the actual subject matter of the video, which is something that I just felt like, I can do this. Why not? I see other people doing it. But I just want to say thank you to the people who have been, coming back to the channel in 2022. In 2022, the newest video is doing good. But I mean, really, the whole year, I felt very creatively enriched, and I just I'm very happy to be back on YouTube, really. So thank you, everyone. So what I'm gonna do here is I just wanted to talk about some movies, because I've tried to do a video about No Way Home before, me kind of picking that movie apart a bit, but I would need to do something way more formal. I couldn't just do that off the cuff. But Criterion Collection videos are usually literally just people saying this is what I have and talking about the movie a little bit. So I figured I'd do that. It's not a whole Blu-ray collection, and a lot of the stuff that I bought on Blu-ray throughout the years was were films that I loved as like a 16-year-old or something when I was first getting into films. So it doesn't really reflect a lot of my taste now, like these kind of do. So I just wanted to put some words out there about movies, and maybe this will kind of help encourage me to do that more often, because I have a few other, movies and things I want to talk about. The main one that I think is just going to itch at me for so long, and at first I was discouraged because the movie's not even relevant anymore, but I don't even think that matters. There's so much lost potential in Promising Young Woman, and I have to talk about it. So maybe that'll happen someday. But the No Way Home thing also really itches at me too. So maybe this is a gateway into that, but we'll see. So, oh man, I don't even know which one to start with. I don't know if I should start with one. Yeah, I'll start with one that everyone knows. Everyone's kind of heard of this. This is Parasite. This is a fucking fantastic movie. Bong Joon-ho is a king. You gotta watch this, if you missed it, but so many people have seen this. You gotta watch this. You gotta watch Memories of Murder, and you gotta watch Mother. Those three movies are just absolutely masterpieces. And this film in particular is fucking crushing. It's one of my favorite movies ever. 2019 was such a great year for movies, and Parasite really, it's the perfect visualization of that. God, this film is so good. And this release too. This was pretty much the first one that I bought, because someone just said the words black and white version of Parasite, and I was like, well, it's over. I gotta buy it. I gotta do it. I think actually someone said that in their Criterion Collection video too. So look at that. It's all gone full circle. Yeah, they always do fucking amazing work with these, of course. The covers, the presentation of it all. For anyone, I guess, because I kind of jumped right into this, Criterion is such a fucking amazing service that essentially just kind of handpicks movies that are usually a bit more like indie-ish leaning, or like that vibe, the things you usually think of when you hear that word indie or artsy or whatever, but they have a bunch of shit. It's not just limited to that. The Criterion channel is one of the best streaming services out there. The Criterion Collection, it's just where you can get so many good things like this. If you see a movie that you love on there, it probably has some fucking amazing covers. So just buy it. Do it for yourself. yeah, so Parasite, I mean, I don't really know what I could say about that movie that hasn't already been said, because so many of you already know about the movie. You've probably seen 1,000 videos hyper analyzing it. So all I will say is that ending, that the way it circles back, especially with the first and last shot, like such a simple thing to do in movies, but the fucking emotional potency of Parasite is so good. Seriously, if you have missed it, fucking watch it. And this was the other first Criterion I bought. It lost the DVD in there for a second. So this is right up there for Parasite as far as just it's an all time favorite. But this even more so, probably the most out of all the movies in the year. It just elicits such a fucking visceral emotional reaction from me that really, say what you want about Lynch. I know people think he's pretentious or crazy or whatever. He fucking hates cell phones, but I mean, even if you don't like the way he makes movies, he really knows how to strike to the human heart. I mean, that's what I think he does the best. I don't really care about like how deep it is or all the metaphors and the layer. Like obviously that's a part of it for me, but the characters and especially his characters. I mean, it's tragic, but it doesn't feel like a torture porn. This movie in particular, being a prequel that gives clarity to a lot of the loose ends in Twin Peaks, the show. This movie, fucking, it really it focuses on her as a person, just in a way you could tell that Lynch is in love with her. I mean, seriously, you could tell that Lynch was in love with Laura Palmer. Someone's probably said that before. And fucking goddamn it, rip Angelo Badalamenti, rip Julie Cruz. I mean, they also, put their parts in. Julie Cruz, she's really just there for the one song. She's kind of all around David's work. I mean, she's an incredible musician, really in her own right. In fact, there's a stage play that the three of them did together, Angelo, Julie, and Lynch, that I watched recently, like unselected songs in an orchestra, something like that. It's just like a really bizarre little stage show that mostly is just Julie Cruz like flying around and singing all the songs that everyone loves of hers, and it's wonderful. This is, it may not be Lynch's best film, which I will get to, but it is certainly my favorite because, oh my fucking god, this will just always stick with me. And I wish some of those fucking missing pieces scenes, I wish some of those made it into the movie. There's like specifically like four of them that like you could leave all the rest out, but there's a few that just needed to be in there. There needed to be more Bowie, for one. There needed to be more Bowie. So maybe I will split up Lynch throughout this video because I have a few Lynch criterions. I fucking love the guy, so I think I'll split that up for you anti-Lynch. Actually, no, fuck you. I'm not gonna appease the haters. Fuck you. Get fucked. So I mentioned that Fire Walk with Me may not be his best film. It's just my favorite. I do still think it's a good film. I think a lot of people that don't even like Lynch can kind of appreciate it for its human qualities. But this, I think, is probably his best movie. This is like if Hitchcock was alive in the 80s, but like had some of like Park Chan-wook's DNA in him or something. Like, I don't even know. This is just fucking fantastic. Blue Velvet's a classic. I mean, plenty of people, I'm sure you must know of it in some way, at least by reputation. This has a couple of the best performances I have seen in a movie of this era. Isabella Rossellini, and of course Dennis Hopper. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. This movie really, these three movies that we're starting out with, I've seen at least like 6 times, and pretty much consecutively too. Like, once I've gotten into them, I just cannot let them go. This is one of my biggest recommendations on here, because I think that even though it's not accessible in some ways, it's definitely one of Lynch's more accessible, especially if you like thrillers. It's still definitely very dark, but man, I just think that this is fucking easily. People talk about 80s films, but they do not usually talk about the right 80s films. There are, of course, some of the ones that you always hear talked about, Aliens, whatever. There's great ones. There are good ones. But this is one of the best. Easily. Actually, a good bit of the films I have in here are from the 80s, even though that is generally at least like the surface level aesthetics of the decade. Not a period of time I usually tend to connect with, but the indie scene was really popping off. And this, I mean, Paul Schrader, he gets a lot more attention now, rightfully so, but Mishima is, a really, really brilliant film. One of the most colorful, literally one of the most beautiful films you'll see too. Seriously, what they do, the emotional like magic and just all these little sets, it's fucking brilliant. This movie, I really don't want to tell you much about the plots of any of these either. You just gotta trust me, especially something like this. I mean, look at this cover. Do you want to miss out on this shit? I mean, this is easily one of my, like, if we're talking about, like, Criterion specific to these Blu-rays, like, this is one of my favorite looking ones, easily, without a doubt. And speaking of looking, I guess I didn't explain fully for some of the people the real thing that makes Criterion special. It's not just these covers. It's not just the fact that they usually come with a bunch of supplementary shit. Sometimes even like alternate soundtracks, a whole other disc of things, sometimes even little booklets, yada yada. It is the fact that they do God's service and put 4K transfers of film onto DVD and regular Blu-ray so you can watch them on non-4K Blu-ray players. I mean, that's God's work right there. Come on. You can't lie to me. You know it is. So this film, seeing a film like this, Criterion, I mean, that really is the only way. Of course, you can watch it other ways, of course. But man, I mean, genuinely, this film really is great. It's not really like it could have easily, if it was made by some fucking idiot like Shapiro or something, like Ben Shapiro, like it would be whatever his films are, like the school shooter one, like it would be so obnoxious with its politics. But this film really just steps back and looks at a real person and contextualizes them in a way where you can genuinely understand them even when they go too far in the end, which is something that, not even someone as, like, hateful as Shapiro, just the average filmmaker struggles with. So, yeah, seriously. I mean, see this one. This is another one of the best of the 80s, without a doubt. And the real history around Mishima is definitely overall tragic and upsetting. So, what will I choose next? Maybe I'll just stick with this 80s theme real quick and finish this out with easily my fucking fattest Criterion, the Fanny and Alexander box set. This is such a good movie. It's so daunting, and the less I tell you about it, the more daunting it is, but I fucking don't care. You just gotta trust me. This is a brilliant movie, a really personal movie. Ingmar Bergman is, like Sweden's Kubrick or Sweden's Tarkovsky or whatever you want to say. He was a master. I haven't seen a lot of his films. I've seen some of them, maybe only like 6, but this might honestly be my favorite. I love Persona. I love Persona. Maybe that film just has the edge just because it's a little bit more rewatchable in terms of length. That's about it. I think this film is highly watchable, but if you go in blind, you're really going to think, well, what is this all going to? Because it's a very low-key kind of autobiographical period piece that then slowly shifts into more. And man, is that stuff great. The long version, the true version, the official version, at least by word of Bergman, the TV cut, I guess it would be called, where it's a nearly 5.5 hour long movie that was split into episodes and aired on TV. So that's how you can watch it. You can watch in parts like a miniseries. No shame in that. I have not sat down in one 5-hour sitting yet to watch Fanny and Alexander, but one day I will. One day I absolutely will, because I think this movie is really brilliant. Not just one of the best of the 80s. It kind of might be one of the best. So yeah. Fanny and Alexander, the theatrical cut is good too, but Bergman was disappointed that he had to do that. So, in his words, it was like cutting the veins or something. Like he talked about feeling like a operator, but in a malicious way or something. And you could feel that because there's a lot of real magic in these movies. Bergman really loved to stay true to what film was originally made for. Or not what it was made for, but what it at least was one of the things that helped popularize it, which was magic, musicians using it, to film these crazy dreamlike things. Bergman stays true to that, but the theatrical cut takes a lot of that out, and it makes the film a lot more realistic and cold, and that certainly has its value. And I should just show you that, too, because those are beautiful. But, I do prefer that long version. There he is, the man, because this also comes with a making-of documentary, which was great. I think he even also directed that himself. Bergman was just a non-stop working man. You cannot slack him for that. So, now I think I'm going to go with a weird one, since we're with period pieces. This is a period. Fellini Satyricon. I fucked it up probably. Jesus Christ, the fucking jump scare. Look, this film is genuinely fucking insane. I love stories that are like I love the original, mythical stories, seeing or reading, I guess, the types of things that people would come up with, way back when really all they could do is let their imaginations run wild. And this film is essentially an adaptation of one of the oldest stories ever written. And, it's a story that only pieces of it have been found on stone slabs, and total chunks and chunks are missing, but it's such a long story, probably the first ever serial, honestly, because it's sort of the most bonkers, misadventures story ever. And, fucking Fellini, who I still have not seen much of yet, but am looking forward to it. He dives even deeper into that dream aspect. You can tell that he's a filmmaker that Lynch loved. He doesn't try to connect the dots. Hello. Um, I ran out of footage space, but now I'm gonna try this again, and I'm gonna try to go a little quicker. Okay, I'm gonna try to be a little bit more precise. I was getting towards the. Oh my god, I was getting a little messy towards the end there, and I'm gonna be even worse this time now. So, with that said, I know I was still talking about Fellini Satyricon. I don't know why the fuck that was so hard for me. Fellini Satyricon. And if that's still wrong, then the goof is on me. But great film. So I'm going to move from that very dreamlike film onto this literal nightmare. Cure. This film is great. Found out about it because of Sardonicast, which I love very much. And, I genuinely think that the Sardonicast episode about Cure, okay, are you listening, is, I think this is what got this film kind of more in people's mouths as of lately, because I had never heard of it, and now I see it talked about more, and then it ended up on the Criterion channel, and then not long after the collection, and I bought it. This is, I believe, the first Criterion that I bought, not during the Barnes and Noble saving period, because I've seen it many times already. I feel indebted to that film. The aesthetic of it, really is some of my favorite, like J-horror, just horror from Japan, because it's not, they have their own style, of course, but like it's I don't know, distinguishing it as such really only matters if you're talking about the locale. Otherwise, I think they, in the late 90s and early 2000s, like a lot of the great edgelord, we'll call it, looking films like that, sort of the peak of like analog film and how that looked mixed with like the grit that they were able to achieve, and the way the grit looked at that time is just my favorite shit ever. And Cure perfectly captures that. An amazing antagonist, we'll call him. It's a terrible character, but antagonist sounds a little too much like a mythos or something. Like it's a very real film, and films like Cure and this next one I'm going to talk about, I find to be so genius when they're literally intended by words of the director too, like Kiyoshi Kurosawa and even Lynch, who spoiler alert, that's the next film. What the fuck? So anyway, Lost Highway is a great little film by David Lynch. And what this film and Cure have in common is they set up very confusing mysteries, right? But they are films made in a way where you can. It's not just that they are left up for interpretation. It's that you can actually use various clues left by the filmmakers to piece together various perspectives about the end. Like it's so geniusly made. Cure, especially, I think Lost Highway is a bit easier to grasp compared to other Lynch films. I think once you watch it to the, first time watching it, as long as you watch it to the very end, I think you'll be able to understand it. At least, when if you were watching, I guess, if you were watching the movie, you'd get it. But I love this one. It's also right in that era, the edgelord era, I'll call it. Right in '97, is it not? Is it not? And '97 is right there. It's right at like the official beginning. There's a bit, there's some edgelord stuff that kind of happened before '97, of course, and at least of the brand of edgelord that I'm talking about. Okay, I think it really kind of came into place in '97, and then around like '03 is when it got a little. It intertwined with blockbusters, and then you had shit like Daredevil or something, where like Ben Affleck's Daredevil, where it's the edginess, like, and there were millions too, that I'm just saying one, but so many films, and for years after that as well, throughout the rest of the 2000s, just beating this horse of trying to be fucking edgy, when the genuine efforts to do that like had disappeared years ago. So yeah, Lost Highway, another one. I really won't say much about this one. I'm not really gonna say much about all of these. Oh yeah, I got to see this one in theaters in Pittsburgh, which was fucking awesome. I was going to a theater, just checking out places, to live, and I was going to one theater that was playing a bunch of random, usually older movies, but screening some newer ones, indie films and everything, but a range. They were gonna do like Lord of the Rings not long after I had left, but the only night that theater was packed was for Lost Highway, and that just was so great to see that movie in the crowd, amongst a crowd of people. That was very genuinely special. And speaking of special, and speaking of David Lynch, and speaking of literally laying out clues, sadly they're not in the Criterion. It's only in like one random DVD release of this film where you can actually see 10 of Lynch's clues and riddles to help solve the mystery of Mulholland Drive. And I just said it's Mulholland Drive, the big thick one, once again, half off, although I do believe I bought Lost Highway in full as well. But this, look, I've talked about Fire Walk with Me being my favorite from an emotional perspective. I've talked about thinking that Blue Velvet is maybe his best from, I guess, a filmmaking standpoint. But this, in a way, really is like, I don't know, there's something about this that feels like such an achievement for the type of films that Lynch is making. And I really love all of his films. Like, Dune is fine. I don't hate it. And, I could tell, like, I love the parts that feel like it was made by David Lynch. But, I would have much rather had the film made by Jodorowsky, of course, like that original version of Dune, which would have been impossible. But, that would have been a lot cooler. But if they let Lynch do what he wanted to do, I think he also could have made a special movie. I think it has special moments and it has a great cast. But then there are parts that feel like it was made by a studio in the 80s. Like, ooh. So, yeah, not great. But I've rambled so much already, haven't I? Oh, fuck. Oh, my God. Okay, all right. Hey. All right. Yeah, Mulholland Drive. I fucking love it. It's right up there for me too. The Straight Story also would be right under these four, right with them, I guess, because I don't really have to rank them. I really do love all of his movies. And yeah, and last but certainly not least of the Criterions, I have Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, which was directed by Russ Meyer. And well, there may be a few reasons. I don't know if you could tell. Just a few reasons maybe why I like this movie. I don't know why. All right, listen. It's no, it's actually a pretty good movie. It's fucking wild for one. I've only been able to show it to one other person so far. It's a great movie to like watch people watch. But I was raised on like the Beatles and specifically Yellow Submarine. So I love like wild, wacky late 60s like hippy dippy aesthetic things. And yeah, this film, directed by Russ Meyer, man who shot, not literally, filmed shot George Patton, not shot with a gun. He did not do that, but he shot him with a camera. And then, did a little business in Playboy. I don't know if you could tell. But he made this movie with Roger Ebert, who I think once seen this was so fucking hypocritical for calling out David Lynch, calling him out over Blue Velvet and saying that he was doing a terrible thing with Isabel Rossellini, objectifying her. And then meanwhile he wrote this fucking movie, which I listen. The people I've listened to a lot of the commentary. Everyone was very happy to be involved with this. In fact, this he went out of his way to really, the director Russ Meyer really went out of his way to make it feel like work in like an office job on the film set, rather than something like prostitution. So that's kind of cool. And yeah, that is pretty much it for my Criterions. But I had this one to throw on you because this film is just amazing. This filmmaker is amazing, and they need so much more love. I don't know how this filmmaker has not gotten more love. SOGO ISHII, or Gakuryu ISHII. I hope I didn't say that wrong. Fucking amazing artist. This is probably my favorite thing that I've seen all 2022. And is now just one of my favorite movies ever. Electric Dragon, 80,000 volts. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. When my friend Donald saw Tetsuo the Iron Man when we watched it for the first time together, he said that film was a perfect reflection of his soul. And in a way I knew what he meant, because Yellow Submarine is kind of an embodiment, like the film, it really, that movie is in my veins, but it's something that I was raised on. It wasn't something I found and felt like it was a reflection of me. The closest thing would be a show, not a movie. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 4 specifically. Say what you want about the plot, but the vibes are on point. They're just on point. They're immaculate. And it might have had a little bit to do with the fact that I was called Josuke and Josuke back in high school. So maybe that had a little bit to do with that. But listen, this film is fucking awesome. If you can find physical media of this, because this and Tetsuo, they were part of a wave of filmmaking that is meant to be, you know, non-material. Essentially, it's the cyberpunk wave. They're like the odd ends of it. Like Tetsuo was one of the first, and Electric Dragon is sort of like the swan song. And it's a fucking, you could really enjoy any film from that wave. They the director of Tetsuo, I'm blanking on his name, but he was also an ISHII the Killer. He you can tell I'm running out of time because I'm talking a lot fast. For one, this is multimedia, right? They the cyberpunk wave of films. Oh my god, I look insane. This wave of films usually would be done by punk bands, and they would make multimedia projects, which I'm already, you know, a swooning for. And yeah, you know, it just gives it that much more life, essentially, and energy for sure. Like SOGO had another film called, back when he was SOGO, he had a film, Burst City. I haven't seen that one yet. And there's another one that he did that I'm blanking on the name of right now. Crazy something road, maybe. Any cyberpunk film, any SOGO film, it's worth your time. My first film that I saw from him was Angel Dust, which is very similar to Cure, the film that I brought up, but even more ahead of its time, really, because it came out in '94 and it looks like The Matrix, like it's that dark green film grit edgelord era look, but it's from '94, so it's like, oh my god, I can't believe it. And they're all, you know, jet black hair, black and white suits. It looks fucking awesome. Watch that movie too. And then, you know, there's August in the Water by SOGO ISHII, which is, I don't know how the Crystal Gals didn't get on that one yet. That's a great film. Feels like the guy who made Evangelion took from it a little bit, maybe, from that film and the short film it's kind of based on by SOGO, from Tokyo Blood. So yeah, okay, I got a couple minutes still. But if it times out, then I'm just going to fade to black at some random point. So, you know, with that said, I'll just throw this in here. I'll throw these in here because they're my only other 4K things. I have this big giant Akira 4K that the worker at whatever fucking random store it was that I got this from left an extra fucking 4K copy in there. What is wrong with you, dude? You sold me 2 4K copies. What the fuck is your problem, my guy? Maybe that's just protocol. I don't know. But, yeah, and then I got Spiderverse on 4K, because you need that on 4K. I can't wait for the new one. I don't even have a 4K player, but 4K Blu-rays are doing what regular Blu-rays used to do. Instead of a Blu-ray, you buy that and you get the DVD. You buy 4K, you also get the Blu-ray. So once I have a 4K player, I'll have a catalog. And I guess lastly, I would just spit a few films available on Criterion that I can remember off the top of my head that I love and recommend. That being The Piano Teacher, any Michelle Haneke. Oh shit, yeah, I'm blanking on a lot of them already. Persona, of course, you know, Bergman, I mentioned him, but Persona being my favorite. Seventh Seal as well is really great. And what are some more Criterions that are pretty good? I don't know. Why don't you tell me in the comments below? Yeah, thank you. This was a lot of fun. Yeah, just really wanted to do one of these because I've seen them around a lot. Hope this was enjoyable for someone. And yeah, thank you for all the support on the last video. Genuinely, thank you. There will be more videos in general and more like that soon. Very soon.